This is an analysis from Alpha Business Media.
When we think about real, game-changing innovation, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably some high-tech lab, right? Maybe a billion-dollar startup. But what if the most powerful solutions aren't new at all?
Yeah, disruptive innovation, it doesn't always come from a clean room or some all-night coding session. The thing is, when we're staring down today's biggest challenges, I'm talking climate change, resource scarcity, some of the most effective strategies are actually being rediscovered, not invented.
Sometimes, the blueprint for the future isn't a brand new patent filing. It's a centuries-old recipe for fertilizer, something that's been passed down from farmer to farmer, generation after generation.
And sometimes that innovation is literally engineered into a water system that has been working for over a millennium, a system that's outlasted entire empires. Today, we're going to look at Nepal, where this kind of ancestral wisdom is becoming a powerful, and I mean powerful engine for sustainable innovation.
So, our first stop is all about managing natural capital. But look, this isn't just about conservation in the traditional sense. It's about seeing tradition itself as a kind of time-tested R&D model for solving some really critical environmental crises.
And the challenge they faced was immense. Nepal was dealing with catastrophic deforestation. We're talking about losing a forest area roughly the size of a small country. The consequences were just dire. Landslides, a massive loss of biodiversity, you name it. So what changed? Well, the strategy. That was the pivot that mattered. The old top-down government approach, it just wasn't working. It failed. The solution was honestly pretty radical. Decentralization. They gave control directly to community forest user groups. And these groups combined their traditional knowledge with formal plans. And the results? Well, they were transformative.
And this just brilliantly illustrates how deep this model goes. See, it wasn't only about the trees. The program actually mandated 50% representation for women on its committees. So environmental restoration also became this vehicle for social equity and empowerment. Absolutely brilliant.
Now this same principle, it extends to another critical resource, water. And the challenge here is just staggering. Take a look at the Kathmandu Valley. Their modern city systems can't even supply a quarter of the water that people need every single day.
So what's the answer? It wasn't to build bigger, more expensive modern plants. It was to look back. Communities are now reviving what's called the HITI system, an incredible 1,500-year-old gravity-fed network. Now, this isn't about nostalgia. It's about recognizing that this ancient, resilient piece of engineering can actually serve modern needs, where our current systems are failing.
And this whole idea of practical, low-cost innovation, it leads us right into agriculture. Because for smallholder farmers, let's be honest, economic pragmatism is the ultimate driver for adopting any new tech.
Farmers were faced with these expensive, soil-destroying chemical fertilizers. So they're turning back to something called Jolholmal. It's a powerful, homemade biofertilizer and pesticide, and it's made from stuff that's just readily available. It's organic, it's cheap, and most importantly, it puts the control right back in the hands of the farmer.
The real beauty of this agritech is just how accessible it is. The whole process is simple, and it relies completely on local materials. And it's women's farming groups who are really leading this charge, turning what was individual knowledge into a powerful collective practice that boosts yields and empowers their whole community.
This whole worldview, this idea where nature and the well-being of a community are completely intertwined, well, it's most obvious when you look at traditional medicine, which you can really think of as a living pharmacy.
And let's be crystal clear, we are not talking about some fringe practice here. Up to 90% of the population relies on traditional medicine, especially out in rural areas. It is, for all intents and purposes, the backbone of the nation's healthcare system.
This living pharmacy is powered by Nepal's incredible biodiversity. You've got things like Yarsagumba, a powerful tonic found way up in the Himalayas, or Sarpaganda from the lowlands, which is used to treat high blood pressure. The ecosystem is the source of well-being.
And this really reveals the fundamental synergy here. The knowledge of traditional healers, passed down for centuries, it's completely worthless if the plants themselves disappear. So protecting biodiversity isn't some abstract environmental goal, it's a direct investment in public health.
So what can we really learn from all these stories? These aren't just isolated successes. They actually reveal a powerful and replicable framework for a totally different kind of innovation, one that's sustainable, inclusive, and incredibly resilient.
The core principles that bubble up to the surface are pretty clear. First,
Community ownership isn't just a nice goal to have, it's the core management strategy. Second, the past can be skillfully adapted to build resilience for the future. And finally, decentralized low-cost solutions are often the most powerful for localized problems. This isn't just a story about Nepal, it's a practical model for leaders everywhere.
And that brings us to the final question, really. Nepal's experience proves that some of the most profound innovations aren't invented from scratch, they're rediscovered. And it forces us to ask, in our own organizations, in our own communities, what powerful solutions are already hiding right there in plain sight?